Hello everyone, John here from Gaming in the Wild, and I've got a very exciting video for you today. It is a review of a game that I've been looking forward to for over a year now, ever since we first set eyes on this mesmerizing view of a swordsman surfing across rippling sands. I could not wait to get control of that swordsman and to play the game and to feel the movement of Sword of the Sea, and now it's finally here. I've often been a big proponent of games that have satisfying movement, where the moment-to-moment gameplay as you're moving through a game is satisfying in itself without the targets, the goals, the aims, and all of that kind of thing. And I will say up top that I think if you too are someone who enjoys games that have fluid traversal, then Sword of the Sea is a must play for you. The movement of this game is just silken. It is a real pleasure just to move around, to trick, to jump. Giant Squid has really hit this movement out of the park. I had a great time playing this game. I finished it in 5 hours, and I'm going to guess that a lot of you out there are playing it now, have played it, or maybe are thinking about playing it. And for those of you who have not played it yet, there won't be any spoilers in this. I've tried to keep it to the movement, the gameplay style, the structure. I don't spoil the story. I don't spoil any late game surprises or abilities and that kind of thing. So you can be safe to watch this if you're planning to play the game, to enjoy this video, to soak in a bit of that atmosphere of Sword of the Sea. And if you do enjoy this review, then I would like to invite you to give the video a like to help other people find it. You can subscribe to this channel to get more things like this in your feed. And I have a wonderful Patreon community as well. Every patron gets an invite to the patron-only Discord community. Patrons get access to all kinds of stuff that I make just for supporters, like content creation inside baseball and 20 bonus episodes about traveling out to Japan, to Dublin, to Manchester, going to game events and all of that kind of thing. So it's a really nice set of stuff you get for being a patron. I will tell you more about that at the end of this video. But for now, let's get into it. This is Sword of the Sea. So Sword of the Sea is a game in which we play a mysterious figure who rides a sword over rippling sands. He activates mysterious structures to turn the dunes back into ocean. It was developed by Giant Squid. It was self-published, interestingly, so they have moved on from Annapurna, who published The Pathless. The break seems to have put the studio in a bit of trouble during development. Matt Nava, the studio head, has been quite transparent about that, and he said that signing up with PlayStation Plus saved them. So thank you very much to PlayStation. No one wants to see Giant Squid in trouble. They've made some of the best indie games of recent years, and Sword of the Sea joins that club. The soundtrack of the game is notable, it is wondrous, and it is by Austin Wintory. I think it's a subtle soundtrack, it's a moody soundtrack, and it is just perfect for the game. It is very different from the earthy, tribal feel of The Pathless. It's a more spacious, airy, and synthetic soundtrack in a way that I really liked. OpenCritic has this game at 87, which is a best ever for Giant Squid. Some of the highest came from Eurogamer, who said movement, meaning, and mindfulness combine in Giant Squid's latest, a game of free-form expression and flow. The low was 78% from PC Gamer. They said a short and spectacular surfing game, Sword of the Sea's atmosphere and movement propel it, where its simple and repetitive puzzles cannot. And this game is really not about the puzzles, it's about motion, it's about keeping the player moving, not slowing them down, so that's an odd take to me. I think if you look at the design of this game holistically, then simple puzzles is a strength and an intention. The developers describe this one by saying, surf across magnificent waves of sand and glistening waters on an epic quest to restore a lost ocean, in an atmospheric surfing adventure with fast movement inspired by classic skateboarding and snowboarding games. And my summary of this one is that Sword of the Sea is like a playable dream. It combines the simplicity and wonder of Journey, the oceanic splendor of Abzu, and the searing speed of The Pathless into a mesmerizing new form. It's the apotheosis of the Matt Nava formula. So I'm a huge Giant Squid fan, and I was kind of in the bag for this game, but you never quite know until you get your hands on it how you're going to react to it, and so I'm very, very happy that the game has hit just how I wanted. Giant Squid is the LA-based studio that is led by Matt Nava. Nava is an interesting guy. I've listened to some interviews with him. He gives me slightly surfery, art kid, kind of hippie West Coast vibes. He has a gentle, thoughtful way of speaking in interviews. He speaks very well about his games and about his inspirations, and so there's a lot of material out there. I like this quote from a Polygon interview where he says, "Surfing is this really magical experience. You're out there in nature, you're on a transport object. It's not a vehicle, it doesn't have a motor. You are just using the energy of the waves. You aren't really in control. You have to let go of yourself a bit. I think there's something there that's really magical, and my own experience surfing and snowboarding was an inspiration for what the message of the game is and what we're trying to say with it. And Nava rose to prominence when he joined that game company right at the beginning of their development of Journey. He had a vision for this crumbling, sand-swept world that propelled him to art director on that project, and it's a big part of what made that game into the modern classic that we all know and love. And Nava has been on the record saying that the development of Journey was a fraught and tumultuous process, and that when the team dispersed, he decided to start his own studio, that is Giant Squid. Since then, he has helmed 3 beautiful games with a focus on nature and smooth traversal, and they all feel connected to Journey in one way or another, with motifs like hieroglyphs, fantastical large-scale architecture, and clean shapes inspired by both nature and ancient history. And Nava has said that his parents are artists and that he travelled a lot during childhood, visiting a lot of museums of antiquity and natural history all around the world. I think you can feel that in his distinct style, which has a certain reverence, a sense of scale, and a sense of cultures lost. Giant Squid's first game was, of course, Abzu, a lush, hypnotic underwater adventure with an incredible colour palette and schools and balls of teeming fish. It had the feeling of exploring the crumbling remains of a fallen civilization and an interesting approach to wordless storytelling. We moved through ever larger spaces and tried to piece together what had gone before and what was happening now. It was originally intended to be an open world underwater game, but that's something that Giant Squid would have to wait to explore on their next game, The Pathless, a game characterized by free-flowing movement through an ancient valley in a mournful journey through a dead civilization. It was a game of fast traversal and almost archaeological exploration. We could read the last thoughts of the deceased. We tried to save ailing animal gods from a certain plague, and we climb ever higher to discover the airborne source of the pollution. And that brings us to Sword of the Sea, their third game, which will feel familiar if you've played these previous games, but in the best possible way. I've seen people describing this game as derivative, and I don't think that that's a very generous characterization of it. In my mind, this game is an ascension from his previous works. It takes parts that worked best from each of them, and it fuses them all together with a jolt of new electricity in the game's wonderful, fluid motion. And I think it manages to make something that's both comfortable and startlingly fresh. In Sword of the Sea, we play as a swordsman called the Wraith, who is awakened from a deep slumber when a single drop of water falls onto his visor in a deep cavern. This drop of water imbues him with energy and motivates him to move. We have a sword that hovers along the ground. This is the hover sword. We hop onto it, and we notice straight away the absolute silky movement of this game. We slide over the sand, which ripples like water, we can turn on a dime, and we start with a triple jump already unlocked, which I absolutely love. There is a simple starter or a charged variant of the first jump, there is a spin in the air for extra height, and then a little flip for just a little bit of extra distance. And I was over the moon as soon as I started playing this. I knew that I was going to have a lot of fun with this movement system. The gravity feels nice and readable, and I barely misjudged a jump in the entire 5-hour playthrough, which I think is a testament both to the movement and the tight level design. We move through an initial area which teaches us some basics of the game. There are tablets to find where we can read poems that give hints about the backstory of the game, and we meet a merchant who will collect the gold that we found in the world. This is called Tetra, and we can cash it in to buy new skills at certain amounts. This is good simple design, I think. We need gold to improve. The only way to get gold is to seek it out, and that means that we're incentivized to explore, to search for hidden chests, and follow trails of gold across the landscape. We're also presented with a half pipe and an introduction to the tricking in this game, and I think that this is actually handled very well. There is a certain potential disjoin between this fantastical world in this desert realm and the idea of curb grinding across this lost society, but it somehow works here. I didn't linger too much on the incongruity of it all. I was able to just smile, accept it, and move on. And after paying the merchant, a big door opens up and we are set free into this flowing, sandy, beautiful world. And the game continues to gracefully teach us its language. We follow red flags across the sand that lead us to places of interest, whether that's a story progression point or a traversal puzzle, like a chest on top of a pillar that's too high to jump to and we have to puzzle out how to get there. There is a respectable amount of secrets in this game that make exploration a treat. Often things are tucked behind architecture that leads the eye just a little and makes you think, could I jump onto that? And the answer is often yes. We're also taught about lighting lanterns by gliding over them, and that when we light them all, the sand ground beneath our feet will turn into glorious water, revealing a gorgeous submarine landscape with reefs and flora. The fish will be freed and swim above the sand, guiding us forward, and flowing over the water with fish all around you is really just a very memorable moment. And ringing bells on chapels to depollute or enrich a landscape is something that we've seen a lot of times before in games, but never like this. It really did fill me with wonder every single time. And while we start out by oceanifying small areas of the map, we'll soon be converting large temples or entire deserts to this overground underwater state. And doing so opens up new exploration routes and opportunities for tricking and for Tetra collection. The next area is bigger, and it teaches us about giant doors that will have 2, 3, or 4 locks. Each one is opened by scaling a tower to ring a bell. The towers are spread out across an open piece of landscape, and that is the rough structure of the game. We'll be let into an area, we'll have a giant door that we have to open, but on our way between the towers we're distracted in the best possible way constantly by chests, by Tetra, by animals to meet and ride, by candles to light, flags to follow, and so forth. And I really want to give a shout out to the sightlines in this game. It doesn't have a map, and often on this kind of game I will wish there was a map, but the sight lines between points in this game are excellent. It could be classed as wide linear or open zone, and every time that I'd completed an objective I could just look around and see where I was supposed to go next. Sometimes there is a light beam that guides the eye, but a lot of times I could just clock it. So I think that these areas are really packed with secrets, they're dense with things to do, and they are really, really fun to traverse. I think it's safe to say I was in love with this one from the start. And I think something that really made me enjoy this game was that I allowed myself to be distracted. It can be completed in 2 to 3 hours, but I think that my advice is just to relax into the game, to disengage that gamer instinct, to optimize your time, to find the quickest way to do everything, to linger in the gaps between things, to explore the corners and soak in all this wonderful game has to offer. But there is some gamery stuff tucked away here too, because the tricking in this game is more than ornamental. It isn't put center stage at any point, that's the vibes and the traversal, and you could even miss it, but you do get points for comboing as you surf over the waves. There are even slightly off the beaten track skate arenas with architecture designed for tricking and score targets to beat, and you also have a running score throughout the game. I think this is definitely a game that is designed for repeat playthroughs and for speed running, and I think for completionists there is plenty of meat on the bone here. I got about half the trophies in my chilled out playthrough, and I was left wanting to get a few more, especially to find all of the trick arenas and to complete some sets of animal encounters and things like that. But I think the thing that I really love the most about this game is the flowing feeling that it gives to you. It just feels incredible to move over the landscape in this game, with the sand billowing like roiling water, giving you chances to leap off towering waves and to spin hanging in the air. And when you land from a great height, you'll momentarily be taken beneath the surface by your momentum, popping out again moments later. Going downhill is exhilarating as your board leaves a white streak behind you, and you get up to some really incredible speeds, far beyond what a speedboat would do. When you grind on giant chains in this game, you feel every bump in the DualSense haptics, and when you become able to ride up giant seaweed fronds, you float up vertically to amazing heights. And although a lot of games have tried, I think there are few that have ever given me this kind of sense of speed, of self-possessed movement, and of real aerial freedom. And the game was designed this way. Matt Nava has said that the hoversword feels like snowboarding, skating, and surfing all at once, but with the freedom of flight. And I think when you combine that with the amazing areas that you get to explore, the sheer scale of the slopes and the buildings that you'll be traversing, and that incredibly refreshing sight of sand giving way to teal and azure ocean, the geometry of the distant towers and the giant mountain peaks and the enveloping sound and music, it is just a vibe. I felt something softening in my heart a little when I was playing this game. Nava has said that he wants to try and recreate the kind of spiritual experience that he himself has when snowboarding or diving. And while I think that delivering a spiritual experience might be a tall order for a video game, you know, when we're looking at a screen with a controller in our hands, I do genuinely believe that he's gotten some way to doing so with Sword of the Sea. And I really do think there is little more higher praise to give than that. So So as is traditional, I will run through some of my favourite and least favourite things about the game to round things out. In the high points column, the aesthetic has to come first, the fresh look, the colour palette, the sight of those colourful fish swarming through the air, the giant architecture lurking on the horizon, the glitter of the sand, the gleam of the water, and the visual design too. I really enjoyed the sightlines across the map, meaning that I never wanted a map, not a single time, and I think that's kind of rare in a game where there are collectibles to find and secrets and that kind of thing. I will often find myself wishing there was some kind of checklist, but in this game it just flows so well. I love that there are secrets everywhere. I love that they are tucked behind clever little challenges, like little platforming bits where you have to land with precision or charge jump to get somewhere. I like that feeling of thinking, should I be able to get here? And then realizing that yes, it is by design. I like that the map areas are big enough to feel expansive but still knowable, and I got a barely tangible feeling sometimes, like a sense memory of traveling a long way and seeing something appear on the horizon like a tower, and just feeling a strong drive to go there. I think this game really triggers the wanderer's instinct. The movement, of course, is a big thing here. It's just like silk. I think this game immediately enters the all-time pantheon of the best feeling game movement. It does an amazing job of keeping you at top speed and giving you every opportunity to trick, to jump, to fly, to drop. It presents you with a lot of opportunities to use those systems too, like little optional challenges. We have to jump a certain way to collect something. And it's not even like incredible collectibles or anything. It's just currency, but the thrill of getting it is what you do it for. And I mean, in life, I often crave to be free from gravity, to feel my heavy feet leave the ground for just a moment. And Sword of the Sea gave that to me in video game form, and that's something that I feel genuinely grateful for. As for the criticisms, I think it's really nitpicking, there isn't a lot. I will say that the tricks that you can do are a little small on screen. The base triple jump looks pretty cool, and the extra tricks that you do don't really advance upon that in terms of animation or impact. The story is very, very light touch. We never really bond with the beings that we meet along the way on this journey, and I think it could have been nice to have an excuse to linger with them a little longer, and feeling more connected to the beings we meet along the way might have made the ending feel more impactful. Some secrets are a little too obscure in this game. For example, most of the time, if you fall off the edge of the world, you will just die, but in some places, you just don't because there's a chest down there, and it's not signposted quite well enough, I would say. When we meet the merchant, camera control is grabbed away from the player for a moment, and it lingers a little too long before it's given back. We finish our transaction, we want to leave, and then we have to wait a couple seconds to get it back. It's a tiny frustration, but in a game that is almost perfect in every way, I think any moment of friction sticks out, and that one is patchable and avoidable. Finally, a bit of a broader point. I really love Matt Nava's style, and I'm loath to pick at it, but there is a small part of me that senses that it draws from things with weight and depth and importance, things with a cultural heft of their own, like native or tribal belief systems and ancient Middle Eastern cultures. And Nava weaves all of that into his aesthetic, so it borrows the style but not the substance. So there are moments where I feel like there is an assumed or borrowed gravitas here that is somewhat without substance. My thoughts aren't fully formed on this, and it is just a critique, I guess, of art that draws on ancient history, I suppose. But it is a feeling that I get from time to time, and I thought it was worth mentioning here. Maybe it's something that I'll discuss once I have had time to think it out a little more. But all in all, just to round this review out, I would say that Sword of Sea was a joyful play, and I could not be more happy with my time spent playing this game. I love the length of it. I love that it doesn't, push you, it doesn't wear out its welcome, but you can go back to it and replay it if you want more, and the game does incentivize you to do so. And I think during my time playing this game, I felt free, I felt happy, I felt inspired, I was drawn into the screen, and I just had a smile on my face the whole time. This is why I love games, and this is the kind of game that this podcast was made for. It's an absolute keeper, and one of the best things I've played this year. That is Sword of the Sea. And so that's it. That's our review of Sword of the Sea. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please drop a comment and let me know what you thought of the game, what you think of Matt Nava, what you think of Giant Squid. Did you enjoy the Pathless Abzu journey? Did you enjoy Sword of the Sea? And what would you like to see them create next? You can, of course, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this in your feed. Likes are really, really helpful in getting the word out, and so is sharing this video with a friend. If you know someone who would like it, then please do share it with them. And finally, there is that Patreon if you'd like to go the extra mile to support the work I do. YouTube revenue is pretty tiny, and one Patreon subscription is worth 1,000 or more views on a video, so please do join the Patreon if you'd like to support me. It's patreon.com/gaminginthewild. You get behind the scenes material about how I make these videos, you get a suite of 20 podcast episodes that are only for patrons, and you get access to our wonderful patron-only Discord community, where you can meet like-minded indie game fans, share games that you're playing, discover new games you've never heard of before. It's a really wonderful place that feels far away from the dumpster fire of social media, and especially the gamer internet. This is like a secret garden of indie game fans. You're welcome to come and join us. Patreon.com/gaminginthewild. That's it for this video, so until the next one, take care of yourselves and each other, and bye-bye for now.